Right, well, welcome everybody. I'm Julian Bolding, the founder of the Network One, which many of you probably know by now. And I just want to say a very quick word before we welcome Nick and Joanna, who are going to talk to us today, and Stephanie, my colleague, who will introduce us. And the reason is that after several weeks of our webinars on Wednesday, which have gone super well, we're going to do something even more ambitious next week, because next week is the week when we normally would go to Cannes for the Cannes Lions. And we go every year, not just to drink the champagne, of course, but because we really find it a great place to meet people and to meet people from all around the world who often become partners and friends. This year, of course, we can't go to Cannes because of COVID-19. But we didn't want to let the week go. So we are going to do a complete week of webinars next week, starting on Monday and running right the way through to Friday. Paul has put in the chat, you can look at it later, a little flyer as to the different people who are talking. But we have fantastic people from literally all over the world. We have senior clients, we have Grand Prix Creative Award winners, we have consultants, we have street researchers, we have people from Google and big agencies and people who are leading small agencies. There's really something for everybody. So please do join. And for this next week in particular, please do invite anybody from your team, because it's going to be serious, but it is still a little bit of a party and everybody is welcome. So we'd like to get lots and lots of people from next week to our Indie Forum Digital. But that's next week. This week we have a terrific webinar, and Stephanie is just going to introduce our two guest presenters, Nick and Joanna, and get us underway. Steph, over to you.
Thank you for that introduction, Julian. Thank you all for tuning in for this week's webinar Wednesday. As Julian mentioned, I'm Stephanie. I'll be moderating the webinar, and I'm just going to quickly go through a little bit of housekeeping before I introduce the speakers. So timings wise, we're going to have a 5-minute intro. Then our speakers will speak for about 35 minutes. We're going to spend about 15 minutes on the Q&A, and we're planning to finish by 1:55 London time, so you can be ready for your next virtual appointment. So please do keep your microphones muted all the time, because otherwise it's a lot of noise. But if we're calling you to ask a question, we'll unmute your microphone. But it would be great if you could leave your cameras on, so that our speakers have like some friendly faces to present to. We're going to have a Q&A portion at the end, but if you think of a question while our speakers are speaking, just send them directly to me in the chat. So to do this, go to your chat box, and where it says to, there's a drop-down menu, and instead of everyone, just select Stephanie Fox. We'll go through all of the questions, and we'll select a few to ask our speakers once they finish speaking. So all of the questions should be sent to me via the chat box. And if you'd like to ask a question yourself, just type "I'll ask" or something to this effect next to the question, and then I'll call on you to ask your question during the Q&A. If you're feeling shy, you prefer for me to ask your question, just say so in brackets next to the question. So hopefully you should have your Zoom viewing mode set to speaker view. If not, just click speaker view at the top right of your screen. Our speakers will be sharing slides on their screen. If you can't see their speaker windows when the slides are on the screen, just select show active speaker video, excuse me. If you have any technical issues, you can message Lizzie Gold directly in the chat, or you can email Lizzie at lizzie.gold@thenetwork1.com. So we will be recording this webinar, so if you prefer not to take notes, there's no need to. And if for any reason the system crashes, just wait a couple of minutes and you can log back in via the same link that you already used to log in this afternoon. Thank you very much. Now to introduce our speakers. So Nick Christensen and Joanne Lambajova run Emergent Retail, the division of Threepipe, a brand performance agency which specializes in helping brands achieve success on Amazon. Joanna's passionate about finding new unexplored niches, and this passion was the driver behind setting up the dedicated Amazon division, Emergent. She's successfully grown a variety of retail and sports accounts such as Reese, La Perla, ECB, and NFL. Nick heads up SEO and co-heads the Amazon team and is passionate about data and analytics. He's spent 12 years of digital experience with a strong focus on retail, having successfully led initiatives for brands such as Nike, Panasonic, Sony Music, Sports Direct, and Tomy. So without further ado, I will now turn over to Nick Christensen and Joanna.
You need to unmute yourself, Nick. Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Stephanie. I think you probably covered off a lot of our introduction, really. But yeah, just to summarize, really, Joe and I set up the Emergent Retail, which is a part of the Threepipe reply group. And we set that up about 2 years ago now, really. It seems just like yesterday. But it has flown. And I guess one of the reasons why we set up this division is because we do have as an agency, kind of a really strong focus within retail. And I guess it's really important as an agency to listen to what the business needs are of our clients, and I guess where we see the future going, really, in e-commerce and retail, and Amazon and marketplaces as well in general has generally been growing. We know that it's half of retail sales are going to marketplaces, and Amazon is the dominant factor within that equation. So we made a conscious decision as an agency that we wanted to build out this service. And Joe and I have created a number of different services and different ways that we help our clients, which we'll be sharing with you today within our presentation. Do you have anything to add to that, Joe?
Nope, you pretty much covered it all. So let's share the deck.
All right. There it is. Let me big up the screen. There we go. Is that full screen for everybody?
Yep.
A nod will do. So today we'll take you through, I guess, how you can help your clients on Amazon, whether they are already on Amazon or whether you're looking at Amazon as a potential new opportunity for your different businesses. And just in terms of some general housekeeping, we are Emergent Retail, and we have a number of different clients on Amazon in the UK and other European marketplaces. And we help our clients probably in about 4 core areas at the moment, which is around their catalog optimization. So ensuring that their products and catalog is optimized to ensure that they are driving as much visibility and sales of their products. And we support our clients through Amazon's advertising suite. So that's looking through their sponsored products, their sponsored ads, and just, the advertising opportunities to gain more visibility and drive increases in sales and traffic. We also help our clients with general retail consultancy, and we'll be going through some of this anyway within this presentation in terms of why it's so important to understand the different models of selling on Amazon, because there are a couple and they do have their different pros and cons. And I guess more recently, we've been helping our brands to build a brand on Amazon, not just look at Amazon as a lower funnel opportunity to drive sales, but just to create a good and engaging experience for their brands through their creatives, through videos, through their brand stores, and through the ways that they can optimize their different product pages with the options that Amazon provide. So the agenda today, we'll take you through some of the Amazon numbers of why we think it's important, but we've also included more recently just the COVID impact, because we know that it has really changed consumer patterns and behavior online, and this is especially true on Amazon. We'll take you through the key steps into planning Amazon activity, and within that section, we'll also go through the different types of Amazon relationships, how to understand the marketplace, what are the best practices around your products on Amazon, as well as a few different advertising options that you could potentially manage, and the data at the end. How do you know what's working, and how do you measure those results? How do you know what's not working in general? So we have touched on this, that Amazon is dominant. It is dominant in marketplaces, dominant in online. In fact, Amazon has actually overtaken Google in terms of product searches as of late 2018. So people are going onto Amazon to buy products. And in the UK, what we can see is that 90% of UK shoppers use Amazon. That's a huge number, but it's probably not surprising. I'm sure if we do a show of hands right now, probably all do shop on Amazon. In fact, I think Joe is having an Amazon delivery any minute now.
Yeah, I bet the door is gonna ring.
1 in 4 British adults have a Prime subscription. And we think that's huge as well, because we know that Prime customers that go into Amazon convert in the region of 70%. So that's 7 out of 10 times that an Amazon Prime customer goes into Amazon, they actually buy something. And I guess something that's a bit more interesting is that, what we hear a lot when we are having conversations about Amazon is that, people are going to Amazon to research products and they're price sensitive. They'll buy the cheapest products in the category. But what we don't hear about is that Brits are actually loyal to Amazon. They are going back, and what we're seeing that price is not always the driving factor in terms of sales across some different categories on Amazon. Some categories we know are selling at far higher prices than the lower price products within that category itself. So this just shows that Amazon are dominant, and they're kind of dominant in almost every retail category. I think we haven't really come across many categories at the moment where we'd say, Amazon isn't the place to be if you are selling products. We see Amazon as a product discovery more so than a search engine. And the reason for this is because 80% of shoppers use Amazon to discover new brands. And we think that this is a huge stat. This means that, for us as marketeers, this means that we have 80% of the shoppers to play for. And these are the 80% of the shoppers that we can convert to the products that our clients have through the different methods that we have to do that. And we're just talking about this before we joined with Julian, but Amazon is one of the big benefactors of COVID-19. And what we can see in this chart here is that Amazon's traffic is actually almost on par with Q4 traffic, and in retail, that's pretty big. And that's continued to grow. And what we don't know off the back of this is, what the new normal looks like. Are people just going to go back to, previous patterns, or, as we can see in some of the reports coming out of China, is that, people are finding that shopping online and shopping on Amazon is just a very convenient and effortless experience. Where this goes over the next few months, there's uncertainty, but we expect that that there's going to be something between, I guess, the current spike and the previous levels. Although we have talked about why Amazon is a dominant force, but it's also a competitive marketplace. I think in 2019, over 1 million new sellers have joined Amazon, and that means that there's a lot of competition. So it's really important to understand, I suppose, the different marketplaces and where you can actually compete. I guess where you have the right products or the right range, the right mix of products, essentially, to be able to compete, to make a call on where to really focus your efforts. The largest category at the moment is electronics, with 18% of Amazon sales, followed by clothing, followed by home and kitchen, health, beauty, and households, as well as beyond that, you were going to some of the kind of smaller subcategories, but it's still huge to see that there's so many new sellers and how quick Amazon are growing across the markets. So I guess I didn't touch on it actually, but as an Amazon agency, we've also built a lot of our own software, and the reason that we have done this is because we realize that Amazon is probably not as sophisticated as a lot of the other platforms that we use within the agency. And a lot of the software is around data because Amazon don't share a huge amount of it. And that's kind of one of the challenges that we had. So this is just some data that we've taken from our own software that monitors, 400,000 different search queries on a weekly basis on Amazon to understand, what's changing, what are the different opportunities. And what we're seeing is that, when COVID-19 hit, there was just an immediate shock. Everybody went into groceries and essentials, face masks, hygiene products, sanitizer. But what we're seeing, I guess, more recently is that initial shock has subsided a little bit, and we're kind of seeing the categories that are more related to stuff that you do at home, entertainment and other areas. Those categories are the ones that are really winning on Amazon right now. And why this is important, and we'll take you through examples of how you can actually do this type of analysis without your software. But why this is important is because it's really about the opportunity at that very moment. And if your category, your client's categories are the ones that are doing really well, then those are the ones that you really need to focus on and look at this data on a pretty regular basis to refine and improve your overall, your overall tactics, really. We've also looked at, I guess, the current demand versus where it was last year. And what we can see here is that there's actually been quite a substantial shift towards, the product categories that you're using at home, essentially. When what we're seeing, although consumer electronics is the biggest category, we know that we're not traveling to work at the moment, we're not essentially buying headphones to do that, but we're seeing the categories around the home are really growing. The home and garden, groceries, beauty, toys and games, health and fitness. It's pretty much in line with what I guess we think that what we're purchasing, but just to show that this data is important, and it's important to see what's actually going on in the marketplace at any one time. So in terms of winning on Amazon, we've put together pretty much 5 steps to win. One is choosing your Amazon relationship, because there are 2 different options in terms of how you can actually sell on Amazon. 2 is looking at the market, the size, and the opportunity. And then looking at how you can satisfy Amazon's algorithm around search and product demand, and then how we can advertise to boost sales of those products and measure everything that we do. So Amazon has 2 independent, separate selling platforms. One is called Seller Central, one is called Vendor Central. And I think consumers don't really know this because it all comes within the same pages on Amazon itself, but there are some key differences. Seller Central is pretty much a quick entry into the Amazon marketplace. It's, I think in the UK, it's like £30 a month. It's a subscription fee, and you pay a percentage of your sales to Amazon, a referral fee, as well as if you want them to fulfill your orders, you pay them an FBA fee as well. And these percentages are different, dependent on the size of the product, the price of the product, as well as the product category itself. Vendor Central is a direct relationship with Amazon where they purchase your products in bulk. It's invite only, and they'll manage, I suppose, all the logistics for that. The back end is has some similarities, but it's also a little bit different. But I guess key to these 2 models is in Seller Central, you can actually control your promotions a lot better. You can control the pricing of your products. And you can manage your own fulfillments. On Vendor Central, Amazon controls your pricing, and they do have an algorithm that if you are selling products in multiple marketplaces, they'll essentially match the lowest price. So what we're finding with our vendor clients, quite often, especially if they're in FMCGs where the price of their products are relatively low, it is possible that the price is reduced with the algorithm to a stage where Amazon won't continue to buy that product. It's actually called a crapped out. It's when Amazon can't realize a profit itself. The benefits, I suppose I said, control your pricing on Seller Central, but Vendor, you actually get more scale. You have access to A+ content, and you have access to a little bit more Amazon support themselves. And within the Seller Central model, there are actually some packages you can take with Amazon to support your clients. And those packages cover everything from consultancy to, I suppose, marketing to logistics and planning. But yeah, if anybody has any questions on these two, because they're quite big topics towards the end, then we can kind of answer those specific questions as we go. In terms of the market opportunity, we did talk through some of the data that we have through our own software, but actually there's a lot of really simple things that you can do right now without any software to determine, I guess, what is going on within each category. So one of the metrics that we like to use is called the Amazon bestsellers. Well, it's not a metric, it's a page that you can get on Amazon, which shows the top 100 bestsellers across any category or subcategory on Amazon. And why this is useful is because this is numbered by the order in which people are demanding the different products within this list. So we can actually take this list of 100 products to understand what are the characteristics of those products, what are the top products selling in each category, what are the type of products that are selling, what's the average price of those products, and what the promotional activity that's happening to be able to plan. So, what proportion of those products are running different types of promotions, what type of promotions are they running? Is it, 2 for 1 or percentage discounts? And what we also like to look at is the number of reviews across the products, because we know that in general, as a benchmark, pretty much, for every 15 to 20 sales, a consumer will leave a review of those products. So you could potentially work backwards, look at, these products that have, thousands of reviews and determine that actually to get 1,800 reviews, it's likely that they would have had to sell, X. I can do the math right now because it might be wrong, but yeah, sell quite a large amount of different units to get to that stage. Just to take that further, to export that information, and I think what we like to look at, especially are the price points across the different categories, because that allows us to understand that, whether our clients will fit within the category, or our clients are selling products that, or in kind of price buckets that aren't really selling, then we likely make the recommendation to potentially test that product, but we're probably not a huge amount of confidence that you'll be able to fit in within those categories itself. But the price data tells us, what shoppers are willing to spend in each of these categories. And then it also tells us, what we actually have to do to be able to sell products, and if it's possible to sell those products outside of those price ranges. Promotions and discounting is a big part of what brands do on Amazon. And we can see it. We can see in our data when we're running our activity that if a competitor is running a big promotion in any specific category, that will affect the sales that we get and the cost of sale in terms of the advertising that we do. So it's good to kind of bake in an understanding of what level of promotional activity will be required to kind of do your profit or your client's profit calculations across those categories. And here's an example of the type of stuff you can do by pulling the top 100, looking at what proportions are discounting, what are the discounts they are, just kind of understanding what's actually going to be required, especially towards the key times of the year, towards the prime days or Q4 within retail itself. One thing that we're seeing a lot, and what we're talking about here, and I thought some of this terminology might be new for a few of you, but if you're choosing to sell on Amazon as a seller, you can either sell yourself, fulfilled by merchant, FBM, or you can sell through their warehouses, which is called FBA. And to sell through their warehouses, I touched on a little bit earlier, you've got to pay an extra percentage fee in terms of the sale itself. But we also know that if you were to sell through Amazon's warehouse, you get the Prime badge, which means that the conversion rates are, up to 2 times more than there are if you're fulfilling through your own logistics. And since COVID actually happened, what we're seeing is that Amazon tweaked their algorithm to promote the fulfilled by merchant option, and because they weren't able to get a lot of stock into their warehouses. So actually at the time, it was an opportunity for a lot of brands that potentially weren't able to get into Amazon's warehouses to convert their products back to self-fulfillment. And Amazon were prioritizing that fulfillment method a lot more. So it's if your clients are on Amazon right now and they're having any issues getting stock into the warehouse, it's definitely worth considering, fulfilling themselves temporarily. You can always convert back at a later date. But I guess this was probably more impactful maybe about 3-4 weeks ago, where a lot of our clients were out of stock, completely out of stock, with I guess with an uncertainty about when they do get stock back in. But given normal circumstances, we'd see that then the FBA options would take a bigger share of the sales, just because conversion rates are higher and Amazon's algorithm will prioritize products that are more likely to convert. Number 3, I think I'm going to hand this back over to you, Joe.
Yep, that's right. So once you have chosen obviously your relationship with Amazon, and once the client has understood where they are standing in terms of market, in terms of pricing and promotion, a really important part of sort of your next strategy to win is to understand how to gain visibility amongst your product portfolio and how to essentially rank higher against customer searches. Why is that important? So this really interesting research came out a couple of years ago, which basically showed that 55% of all product views, so all clicks onto product pages for a given search term, end up in the first 5 rows. So that means that 55% of probably your sort of traffic, your likely audience to convert, is going to convert within those 5 rows. So we're not even talking about the whole page 1. We are not even talking about page 2. We're talking about just the first 5 rows. So this is really huge, because it just highlights that unless the brand and its products are ranking within this sort of top half of the fold page, they are essentially losing the opportunity to convert their products and losing this valuable traffic. So this is why it's really essential as a starting point for brands to understand how to essentially play against the Amazon algorithm and rank their products higher. So if you go to the next slide, Nick. One of the really key essential elements of doing so in gaining visibility is to firstly understand how a customer is searching for these products. So as Nick mentioned right at the start, at Emergent, right at the start, we developed a lot of our own technology to actually be able to give us insight as to how customers are searching for, what are the specific keywords, terms, phrases they're using, and also how frequently, and also what is the seasonality of it. So, for example, it was very interesting to see during the COVID crisis, the actual semantics of the keywords that customers were using for the same product completely changed. So while before, for example, somebody would search for something like a gym workout clothes, now they were looking for just home exercise clothes or workout clothes. So there was a big change, the big shift in the way people were typing, they were searching for the product. So this is really a key part of what we do for clients. We understand essentially the customer behavior, we understand the customer patterns between categories for different types of products, and we make sure that we use this insight to actually rewrite and restructure their product listings so that they're both more relevant for the actual search term, so that they gain visibility. There is my Amazon package, by the way, if you guys can hear. And also they, in this way, they're also more clear for the customer, so that when the customer lands on a product listing and the product listing is including all of these phrases and all of these features that the customer is searching for, and they're within this listing, they convert much better. So again, this is just on this slide, just an example of a research we did around how people are searching for baby and toddler toys on Amazon. And what we saw is that actually when you bucket these customer searches, there is clear trend emerging that actually most of the toys that people search for are including an age identifier. So people are searching for specific age. Also, gender is a really important identifier when people are searching for a toy. They search for toys for boys or toys for girls. So these kind of small changes into your into your product listing can make big difference in terms of how you rank and also how frequently your product listing page is visited. And of course, driving visibility through organic search is really important, but it takes much longer. So that's why it's really essential that brands also create a robust advertising strategy. And it's not surprising that in the last few years, the overall Amazon budgets invested into the platform has been exponentially growing. So why have they been exponentially growing? Well, firstly, as Nick mentioned before, there's just been incredible growth in terms of traffic to pretty much all categories on Amazon. Just people become, more and more people become Prime members. They buy more frequently. And this also leads to the fact that also the way people behave on Amazon as a platform is different to a lot of other platforms. They are there to purchase, and that's proven by the much higher conversion rates we have been seeing on the platform. So for certain categories, we've seen anything between 10% to 30-40% conversion rate, which is obviously huge. So these two reasons are obviously enough of a motivation for brands to invest more on the platform. But then also Amazon has invested a lot in terms of developing their advertising portfolio and also how brands can target customers. So there are currently very specific ways you can target customers based on both on keyword targeting, but then also based on the products they have been browsing. So in a way, your investment is very focused and your budget is spent in a very precise manner. And this is also shown by the efficient cost of sale we have seen on the platform. So in general, Amazon as an advertising platform has now lined up to be the third biggest after Google and Facebook. And we can see that just by how much results and how much sales customers are driving using it. And as I mentioned, Amazon has built a robust product portfolio in terms of its advertising platform. So roughly to split it, there's two different Amazon propositions when it comes to advertising. The first proposition is, as a lot of probably you guys have heard, AMS, which is actually the old title. Now it's called Advertising Console. But within this platform, essentially you have three options in terms of advertising. These are the sponsored product ads, which actually you see once you type in any search terms, and these are the ads that mimic the results page. You also have the sponsored brands ads, which are the top sort of trio product listings that you see right at the top of the page. And then you have product display ads, which are sort of, they're shown in different parts of Amazon, but normally you see them sort of at the bottom of a product listing page as a sort of a display banner. So these three types of ads are managed all within this AMS platform. And this is where, I guess, these are sort of more lower funnel to mid funnel consideration when it comes to the customer. So the customer is already on the platform. They are already either having a clear idea of what they want to purchase and they're searching for it, or they're browsing, but they clearly have a high purchase intent. So this is platform one. The second platform is the Amazon DSP. And we see this as sort of an upper funnel platform. So this is basically anyone who, whether they sell on Amazon or not, can use the platform. And this platform uses Amazon data, but it doesn't necessarily have to lead to a product listing on Amazon. But essentially it is giving you the opportunity to advertise across both the Amazon platforms, but across a wide variety of sites. So if you guys work with this display, this is obviously the Amazon's version of that, but with the enriched with the Amazon own data. So this is really the platform we use to drive more brand awareness, more sort of essentially to drive new audiences that are maybe currently not on Amazon, but like for most of our clients, to drive them back into the Amazon platform and get them to consider the product. So what we have seen is actually a really significant shift in how advertising has been behaving since the start of the COVID crisis. So we have outlined a few things for brands to consider, and obviously this will change as things sort of settle down with COVID, but it's definitely something to consider when you're running your own advertising right now on Amazon. The first one is obviously around supply. Within a lot of the essentials categories, so anything like hand sanitizers, masks, or anything like that, and also for any non-essentials but high demand categories such as gym equipment or home products, these categories, these brands would have had a lot of trouble with supply because of the high demand. So it is important to adjust your bidding strategy based on how much actually supply you have and how continuous the supply can be. The second one is to consider is obviously demand, in a sense that demand has been sort of going up and down in various categories based on what is sort of the latest that customers need within the COVID crisis. So right at the start, obviously, we saw panic buying of pasta, toilet paper, masks, and hand sanitizers. As we continued through the crisis, we saw, okay, people have to exercise, have to buy sort of work desks and stationery. Now there is more demand for beauty products because they need to pamper themselves. So every week we saw sort of different behavioral patterns emerge, and with it, new opportunities for new brands. So it is really important to really understand what is sort of the next thing in demand and what do customers would need in sort of as the crisis continues. The third point to consider is around competition, and is, again, it's sort of connected with the other two, but it's really important to understand that there is going to be opportunities created by high or low competition within any category. So obviously within the low demand categories, such as maybe car parts, or as Nick mentioned, some of the electronics, right now there may be lower demand, but that also means lower competition, so less people bidding on your keywords. But low demand doesn't mean no demand. So potentially for a lot of brands, that could be a good opportunity for them to actually gain share of voice and visibility in a time when actually other brands are not necessarily bidding. For other brands which are in the high demand categories where there is high competition, is about really reevaluating whether now is the time to bid, or maybe it's about changing your tactics and focusing more on organic optimization and gaining your sales that way. CPCs are obviously highly volatile because of the changes in the competition, so it is important to use automation to manage your bids dynamically. So one of the things that we did at Mergent is to build our own PPC management platform, which has essentially put all of these daily amends and daily bids changes automatic, so that we don't have to worry, and actually there is a smart system behind all our decisions. And as I mentioned before, understanding keywords and understanding how people are searching for the products has changed. So it is important to understand how to amend your bidding and what sort of keywords people are using right now in this period versus others. And then finally, and this is obviously for a lot of people who work in digital marketing, I'm sure that you guys, this is a staple, but essentially understanding the impact and assessing the effectiveness of your activity is essential in order to grow. So this is one of the key, I guess, pillars when it comes to any activity that we do, is creating a very robust reporting framework so that the client is completely aware of the impact of each and every optimization we do, whether it's from an organic perspective or whether it's when we use any of the advertising products. So a lot of obviously a lot of your reporting would include things like impressions. So if you're running anything from social to display to PPC, would be things like impressions and clicks and conversions. Here we have glance views, we have obviously conversions. And the main advertising metric that Amazon uses is ACoS, which is advertising cost of sale, and is essentially a measurement of how much each of your sales costs. It's in the name. But it is really important to also understand that this is not the only sort of cost you need to consider. Obviously, this is also some of the client's thinking needs to be around margins. It needs to be adding obviously any management fee and any sort of handling fee. So just playing on ACoS is probably not always enough to actually be profitable. So this is something else that we consider for a lot of our clients. And then of course, as I mentioned, organic performance, what is your average rank? How is it moving? How many keywords are you indexing for? So we build these extensive dashboards for all of our clients to give them the fullest possible picture and show them the growth sort of at any point of their activity. So I believe this is it, and now is question time.
Fantastic, thank you so much. We've had quite a few questions come in from the audience while you were speaking. So one person has asked, what sorts of contractual parameters would you expect a media agency to put in place with an advertiser when placing the majority of their online advertising budget with Amazon?
That is a good question. I think so could you say that again? Just make sure I've got this right.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So it's, what sort of contractual parameters would you expect a media agency to put in place with an advertiser when placing the majority of their online advertising budget with Amazon?
I think just to jump in here, I think for most of our clients, we advise, well, actually, we insist on the client having a direct relationship with Amazon. So when it comes to, for example, the client is bound to pay their own Amazon bills directly. So therefore, we are sort of a third party which do not get necessarily involved in their relationship with Amazon. So as such, we do not put any sort of contractual parameters into our contracts when it comes to their relationship with Amazon. That is something that they need to sort out directly.
Yeah, I think contractually what we look at is the recommended media budget on the platform in different markets, and we keep that in mind in terms of the software they're running, in terms of the capping on the spend. So we're to that target. But as Joe mentioned, I guess that the contractual bits on media will be direct with Amazon from our perspective.
Great, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Another question from the audience. Do you work with mostly vendors or sellers or both? They said, I see that many of your clients are vendors from the first slide.
Actually, both. We do have a few kind of household brands, but we also work with a few challenger brands. And actually, there's quite a few vendors that we're working with that are exploring, potentially looking at the seller relationship. I think for I guess a couple of reasons. One is that I guess to get more customer data, they can control the fulfillments matched up with a singular customer view, but also to control the pricing across their products. But we work with both, and again, we're comfortable with both platforms.
Great, thank you. So another question, are Amazon eating Google's lunch? Meaning, are they taking revenue from Amazon's search advertising?
I think they're taking a little bit from from everybody else, really. I think Google are pretty dominant, and Amazon aren't near yet, but I think it is coming through the other platforms at the moment.
I would add to this, I think they're eating a lot of lunch from brands' own straight sort of their own site sales, and they're also definitely inflating the CPCs that brands do for their brand terms on Google. So I think within that there is this double whammy. So over time, your brand terms on Google will become more expensive because Amazon is also bidding for them.
Great, thanks. We've had another question come in. They've said, you spoke about how Amazon is not just about sales and behavior. How does it help brand building?
Well, Amazon actually more recently have been promoting a thing called brand stores. And it's pretty much a landing page on Amazon that allows consumers to experience your brand. And we're seeing a lot of really nice brand stores come out now in terms of just sharing the range and kind of allowing consumers new to the brand to be able to, really quickly understand what that brand is about. And actually on the brand stores, Amazon have launched a few really cool metrics around conversions to the brand store. So one of the metrics that I think they're trialing out is around obviously, there's a new to brand purchase, so people that haven't purchased from the brand before, but also people that are looking at other brands and then ended up buying your brand. So there's a few metrics around that brand store in terms of brand building itself. But there's lots of different ways that you can actually go beyond just the standard product pages as well. So Amazon do have, for sellers, enhanced brand content, and for vendors, A+ content. So when you're actually doing a product detail page, you can add images and videos and lots of other, I suppose, assets on the product page itself, so that users do have that, I guess, full brand experience as you expect by going to the brand website.
Great, thank you. We have a question from Duncan Murray Clark. Duncan, are you around? Hello, Duncan? Duncan, I can see that you're not muted, but I can't hear you.
I have two mute buttons.
Here we go.
You had an Amazon delivery.
Yeah, I was gonna start actually by saying I'm not that technically minded. So, but you probably figured that out. So yeah, I'm fairly new to Amazon. So thank you guys. That was very, very interesting. My question is, have you got any tips on the best way of actually breaking into a competitive sector on Amazon? Because we all buy things through recommendation and number of stars and this, that, and the other. And if you're coming into something that has thousands of, or the number of top selling products that have thousands of reviews, and you're sat there all lonely with no likes or reviews, how do you start?
How do you start in terms of reviews, or
just, I mean, how do you breaking into a sector? Because you know, we all buy things based on you know, how many people have reviewed it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of different things. I mean, I can start, Joe. I'm sure you've got a few things to add to that one as well. But I think it probably starts with looking at that industry to see whether it is possible to break in first. So I think we gave you a few tips in terms of checking through the bestsellers. You know, what are the products they're selling, the different price points, and what type of promotions they're running. But I think just understanding that if it is possible in the first place before you invest a huge amount of time or effort into it. I think beyond that, I think it's good to understand what the products are selling, to understand what's actually unique about what you're selling, so you can actually promote that within the category itself. I think Joe also talked through the organic and paid options. And I think one of the things that we see that's a little bit surprising in that a lot of the big brands that do good sales volumes are doing it on the strength of their brand and not as much, I think from our experience anyway, not as much in terms of understanding Amazon's algorithm and kind of doing any real, like, a smart advertising around those products. So even though there are some top sellers in those categories, a few tweaks to your products and a few ways you can run the advertising will allow you to actually get some share of that market. And one of the things that Amazon does within this advertising suite that's different from Google is that you can actually not just bid on like keywords, like generic keywords or branded keywords, but you can actually bid on competitor products. So what you can see is that, okay, my product is similar to these other 15 or 20 products that are doing high sales volumes, which means that they're having high traffic levels. it's a good way to get a new brand out or a new product on Amazon out, is to actually look at those products and specifically target them with the advertising on those product detail pages. And that works pretty well for us with a lot of new product launches for the brands that we work with. On the review side, if you're a vendor, I think that's seller now as well. As of the end of last year, you can actually run with Amazon's Vine program, which is pretty much a product giveaway program that Amazon has, where you ship a certain amount of products, and in exchange for, trusted reviewers to leave reviews of those products. I mean, they're not, I think some consumers will be quite wise that this is an Amazon Vine program, so they are being given these products to leave reviews, but at least it's a starting point. Especially if you're advertising your products have no reviews. Just to have a handful of positive reviews will at least get some traffic started towards those product pages to start to generate some sales momentum. And then I guess, all the other areas around the assets, the best practice, having videos and images and brand stores, just kind of optimizing all those different areas will add to that as well. I think, Joe, is there anything else to add to that?
No.
Did I cover everything? Okay.
We covered it all.
Brilliant.
Fabulous, thank you. So I think we have time for just one more question. So someone has said, in terms of measurement, can you touch on tracking and if there is a measurement platform when reporting?
Right. Yes, the $1 million
Wanna take this one, Joe?
Amazon. Yeah, Amazon, I'm sure probably some of you are aware, is notoriously stingy when it comes to providing data. So when it comes to tracking, the simple answer is like with the usual outside tags that brands are used to, no. There is some tracking if you send customers to your brand store, but that is quite limited for now. What Amazon provides when you are whether you're a vendor or a seller is obviously an extensive data when it comes to your advertising performance. So you can very much detail, you can see, okay, what's been sold, what is your effectiveness, etc. And obviously anything to do with your overall sales as a store. But Amazon does not provide to you, for example, where you're ranking. This is something that we had to build as part of our agency suite into our technology to be able to track that. So anything to do with advertising, yes, you can track, but everything else, not really. You can, as I mentioned, get some tracking to the brand store of outside traffic that you're sending there, so social or Google, etc. But that's about it.
Great, that's really fantastic. Okay, I think we have to wrap up now because we're almost at 5:02. So I just really like to give you guys a huge thank you for the great webinar. So if anyone didn't have time to ask your question, I know there are a couple of you that didn't, I'm now going to share on the screen their contact details. Let me just quickly do this. So as you can see, that is Nick C at threepipe.co.uk and Joanna at threepipe.co.uk if you'd like to follow up and ask a question. Or you can visit them on their website, which is threepipereply.com. Thank you all for coming. We really hope you enjoyed it. As Julia mentioned at the beginning, if anyone missed that, we're going to launch our first Indie Forum Digital next week from Monday the 22nd to Friday the 26th of June. So we've got 5 days featuring 24 amazing speakers and panelists from 12 countries representing every continent in the world. Participation is free and it's open to all independent agency leaders. So please feel free to invite your colleagues and clients to sign up as well. All of the speakers are confirmed and all of the online sessions are open now for registration. So if you'd like to sign up or find out more, you can visit thenetwork1.com/the-indie-forum-digital. It's also on our website under the drop-down menu events. You can see our full schedule and register there. Wednesday webinars are going to start again after the Indie Forum on the 1st of July. So we will be publicizing those and we'll also be in touch with you to share this session. and the contact details as well if you've missed them. So thank you again. Huge thanks to our speakers, Nick and Jay. That was really, really interesting. Thanks to everyone who signed in, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.